Okay, in this chapter, we are going to learn about JavaScript variables. So in JavaScript, whatever you want to store, any data that you want to store, you store it in a variable. And when declaring a variable, we have three ways of doing it. We have var, let, and const. So variables, let's say you want to store your name, your first name and your second name. So you will declare it like let's, then what's the container that you want to store the variable, your name in, that's the variable. So you can choose whatever variable you want. Let me say first name. So first name is equal to, then that your name, my name is Kingsford, so I'm putting Kingsford. So now I have stored Kingsford, which is my name, my first name. I've stored it in a variable called first name, and this keyword, which is let, is what we use to declare a variable. That's what I said here. You can use var, let, or const. Like here I could have used var or const, but let me stick with the let. I'll later explain it to you. Let. Then let me open console.log. Then I put my first name in here. So first name. Let me save it and go to our browser. You see, we have the name here. Though you could have just cleared this and type in the Kingsford straight away, like Kingsford. I've saved it. Let's go and check. Yes, it's there. Nothing is changed. But to make it easy for you to use it everywhere, so that when you store it in a variable, you can use it in many places. Let me go back to the first name and let me store second name, let, last name. So last name is equal to Opoku. So last name and first name and last name. Let's save it and check our console. Kingsford Opoku. Okay. So now we have it. You can use var instead of the let. Let me show you. Var. Let me use var for the first name and let for the last name. Let's save it and check our console. Still it is there. So the difference between var, let, and const is that var was used in 1995 to 2015. So from 2015 they introduced let and constant. So the var is used in old browsers and might not support in the new browsers. Okay, so if you want to store anything in a variable, declare it with let. And if you want to, don't use var. I will advise you not to use var. So use let to store anything in variable. And the const is used to store something in the variable that you will not change it again. Like the first name, I will not change the first name again throughout my code, so I will use const. But if you might change the first name to maybe Samuel somewhere in the code later, then you shouldn't use const. You should rather use let. So that's it. So let's go on and do something different with it. So we are going to do some operation here, addition. So let's num1 is equal to 3. Then let num2 is equal to 2. And let me do it 4. So that means whenever we say num1, we are saying 3, and whenever we say num2, we are saying 4. That is what a variable does. So instead of using 4 or 3 anywhere, you rather use num1 or num2 in place. So console.log num1 plus num2. I guess you know the answer already. So 4 plus 3 will be 7. That's what you see here. Num1 plus num2. That means num1 is 3 and num2 is 4. Let's save it and check our console. So you see 7. The answer is 7. Okay. So let's do something here. Let's results is equal to num1 plus num2. What this means is that here we are declaring a variable called result, and inside that result we are putting num1 plus num2, which is 3 plus 4. So when you add 3 plus 4, what you will get will be put inside the result. So instead of saying num1 plus num2 here, you will just say results. So whatever we get from num1 plus num2 will be saved inside, or will be stored inside results. So here we are going to show results. Let's save it and check our console. So we have it here. Nothing is changed. So that's it for variables. Let's go into the next chapter. Okay. In this chapter we are going to talk about and learn about JavaScript data types. So earlier we talked about the variables, and if you noticed, I first stored first name Kingsford, and now we stored num1 3. So the data types is the type of data we store in the variables. So if you're going to store a number, we have many data types. You have Boolean, strings, numbers, and many more, but here we are going to talk about numbers and strings. When you talk about strings, let me first do this. Let's first name is equal to, you see, first name is a string, is a name, a text. Yes, when it is a text we call it string. Whenever you are assigning a text, you put it in double quotes or single quotes. Either of them is accepted, double quotes or single quotes. So let me use double quotes here, because that's what most programming languages use. Then we put in Kingsford. So because it's a text, we put it in double quotes. That's what defines a string. So whenever you are typing anything text, you are sending anything text to a variable, you put it in a double quotes or single quotes. That will tell the browser that this is a string and it should behave as a string. And you see here we are declaring we are assigning number to num1, and number 3 is a number, so we didn't bring any double quotes or single quotes. If we were to bring double quotes and put 3 inside, it would treat 3 as as a text instead of a number. So let me do something here. Let's print let me delete this one. So here let's add num1 plus num3. So console dot log num1 plus num2. So maybe you will be guessing that it will be 7 because this is 3 and this is 4, so adding them will be 7. But let's go and check what we got. Save it and check our browser. Look, we got 34. Isn't it weird? Let's go and check why we got 34. So like I said, this, whenever you put something in a string, in a double quote or single quote, it treats it as a string. So instead of adding them 4 plus 3 being 7, it added the 3 to the 4 like this, 3 then 4. That's what it did. Let's remove the quotes and make it 3. So let's save it and run it again. See, we got 7. So that's it. When you put double quote, you put something in the double quote or single quote, you treat it as a text. In this chapter, we are going to talk about data types. We have already talked about data types, but we only discussed 2 types, which is string and number. But here, we are going to talk about all the data types in JavaScript. Know that we won't talk much about it. I'll just explain a little bit, and later in the course I'll pick them one by one and explain it deeply. So we have 8 data types in JavaScript, and the first one is string, second one is number, third one is boolean, fourth one is big int, fifth one is undefined, sixth one is null, seventh is symbol, and eighth is object. So we have already talked about the number and string. Let's go on and talk about boolean. So boolean is true or false. Boolean is true or false. So let's say let x is equal to 2 and I come here and say console.log x is greater than 3. You know the answer already, because console.log s is greater than 3, but x here is 2, and you know that 3 is greater than x, so this is a false statement. Let's save it and check our browser. Yes, you see false. So that is boolean. Boolean gives you true or false. So x is equal to 2. Yes. Let's delete this and go to the next one. Let's go to undefined. I'll come back to the big int. Okay, let me just explain the big int. So let me talk about the big int. So big int, you know, numbers are stored in a number variable like we talked about it earlier. But when the values or the integer are too big to be represented by a number or by a number data type, we use big int. So let's say let num1 is equal to, let me type in any number. So you know this number is too big, you know, like it's a numeric letters with absolute values equal to 2 power 53 or greater than 2 like to be represented by accurately as integers. Yes, that's what we are talking about. It's too big to be represented by a number data type. So what we do is that we convert it into big int. Big int. Then we put them in the parentheses with quotation mark. You see, it isn't showing any error. So that's it. We save big numbers in big int. Okay, sorry, here the I is capital. So let's check it. Console.log num1. Let's save and check. Yes, you got it here. That's it. Okay, actually, did you notice n here? This means this value is in big int. This value is in big int. So that's it for big int. Let's go to undefined. So undefined is any variable without a value. So let's say first name, then we have declared it, but we haven't given it any value. This means this is undefined. So let's check it out. First name, save it and check our browser. You see undefined. So this means there is no value in the first name variable. So that's why we got undefined. So that is another data type. Let's go on and talk about now. When you want to create, like let first name, when you want to create an empty variable, like let first name is equal to, then I want it to be empty, so that later I will assign it to a new value. Then you make it now. So now means empty. When you want to give your variable name an empty you want to give it an empty name, so that later you will assign a new value to it, you give it a null. So that's what the null variable means, or does. And when you talk about a symbol, the symbol too is used to create object properties. For example, you want to assign a variable, you want to assign a unique identifier to an object. That's when you use symbol. Let me talk about the object. The object data type has three things. It has an array, the object itself, and date. But here we are going to talk about the array and the object. For example, let me say you're a teacher and you want to store the names of your students. You can use object to make it simple. So first of all, you will declare it, like you assign it to the variable name, maybe students is equal to, then you open curly braces. So the first student, let me say the first student is, so first student, then you bring, so first student, Then you bring the name, maybe Samuel. Then you go, you don't bring semicolon, you bring a comma. Sorry, a comma. Then you go to the second student, and give a name, maybe Mavis. You go to the third student, sorry, a comma. So that's it. That's how you create an object. So when you want to access first student or second student, the console log, you want to get access to the first student, so you will call the students object, which is this one, students. That's the object. You will call it, then you will bring dots, then type in the student you want to get access to, the first name or the second name. Let me choose the first student. So let's save it and check our web browser. Yes, you've seen Samuel. That is the same way if you want to access the second student. Let's save and check our browser. Yes, we got Mavis here. That's it. Let's delete it and go to the array. So array is when you want to save multiple values in the same variable. When you want to save multiple values in the same variable. So let's go on and create our first array. So let my array is equal to, then you bring square bracket. So all your variables, all your values will be inside this bracket. So if you want to store numbers like 2, you bring comma, 7, you bring comma, 98. That's it. That's how you create an array. So let's check how to access an array. So you type the variable name, which is my array, then you bring square brackets and you type in the number, the index of the number you want to get access to. So in array, when you are counting, you count from 0. You don't count like normal people do, counted from 1, 2, 3, 4. You count from 0, 1, 2. That's how you do it in arrays. So the first number will be 0. When you are counting, this number 2 will have an index of 0. This number 1 will have an index of 1. 98 will have an index of 2. So when you want to get access to the number 2, you will type in 0. So when you type in my array, that's the variable name, then you put 0 in the square bracket to access the 2. Let's save it and check our browser. You see you got 2. Let's change it to 1. See, you got 6. Let's change it to 2. Let's save it and yes, we got 98. So that's how we put or we create an array. And we don't only put numbers in an array. You can put string, let's say comma, let me put maybe banana, banana. So let me access it. So this will be 0, 1, 2, and this will be 3. So 3, let's say, yes, we got banana. So that's how you create an array. Hi. Okay, so in the previous chapter we learned about variables. Now we are going to continue on it and talk about variable declaration and variable assignment. So first of all, let me create a variable of first name. First name is equal to Kingsford, like I did earlier in the previous chapter. So this is called variable assignment. So I've assigned Kingsford to the first name. So wherever you want to use Kingsford, you can use first name in place of Kingsford. Or when we talk about variable declaration, when I say let last name and I bring semicolon without assigning it to any value, this is called variable declaration. So with this, I haven't given it any value. So whenever you say you mention last name in any code, in your code, you won't see any value there. It will give you undefined, which is another data type that we'll talk about later. So this is called variable declaration. And one thing is that when you give it like this and later you want to assign it, then you say last name is equal to Opoku. So here you see that I didn't bring any let. I didn't bring the let here because I'm assigning it and I have already declared it. So I don't need to bring let. If I try to bring let, it will give me an error. You see there have been red line under the two last names because you can't assign the same variable name. You have to use let. Then anytime you want to use it again, you just mention the last name and give it any value. Anytime you want to assign a new value to the variable name, you don't have to bring let. So the same applies to the first assignment. When you say let first name and later you want to change it to maybe the Kingsford to Samuel, you say first name is equal to Samuel. That's it. You don't need to bring let. If you bring let, it will give you an error. So you just say first name, then you bring in the value that you want to assign to it. So that's it. This is variable declaration and variable assignment. Let's go on to the next chapter. Hello. In this chapter, we are going to learn about operators. So in Javascript or in any programming languages, we use operators like addition, subtraction, division. Well, let me do it like this. So we use plus or addition sign for addition, a plus for addition. Then use minus sign for subtraction. And for division, we use the slash sign for division. And multiplication, we use asterisk for multiplication. So that is it for multiplication. So let's go on. These are the arithmetic operators. We use them for calculations and those things like that. Though we have assignment operators. Assignment operators. But first of all, let's go to the arithmetic operations. We have already used them in our previous lessons. Let's num1 is equal to 5, maybe 5. Then let num2 is equal to 10. Then let results is equal to num1 plus num2. Then let's put it in a console.log to show our results. So let's save it and check our browser. We got 15 like we expected. So that's addition. We use the plus sign for addition like we said here. So let's use minus for subtraction. Okay, let me do this for the addition. Let me comment this out first. So let num1 minus num. Let's result is equal to num1 minus num2. So we are using the minus sign for subtraction. So let results is equal to num1 minus num2, and we are showing the results in the console.log. So let's print it. So let's save it and check our browser. Got -5 like we expected, because 5 minus 10 is -5. So that's it for subtraction. Let's go to division. So division, let results is equal to num1 divided. We use the slash for division, divided by num2. Now we are printing the results in the console.log. So let's save it and check our browser again. Got 0.5. That's it. Let me change it, do it like 8, 2. So num1 8 divided by num2, which is 2. That's the results. We got 4. That's it. Let's go for multiplication. Let me comment this out. Let results is equal to num1 times num2. So we are multiplying num1, which is 82, with num2, which is 2. We are expecting a result of 16. So let's check our web browser again. Yes, this is 16. Got it right. So that is it for arithmetic operators. Let me comment them all out soon. Let's go for assignment operators. So assignment operators. Assignment operators, we have equals to. Yes, equals to. We use equals to assign anything to a variable, whether a number or a text to a variable, like we have been using earlier. So if you want to assign maybe 5 to, okay, if you want to assign first name, your first name to a variable of first name, like you want to assign Kingsford to first name variable, let first name is equal to Kingsford. You see, the equals to here is the assignment operator. We have used it to assign Kingsford, the value of Kingsford, to first name. And we have some other assignment operators that we are going to look at. We have plus, equals to. So here, let me say, let num1 is equal to 5. Let num2 is equal to 10. Actually, let me clear the num2. So num1 is equal to 5. You know, num1 is already equal to 5. So when you say num1 here, it means 5 is equal to, let me say, num1 plus 2. What do you think num1 will be now? So num1 here is 5. You say 5 is equal to 5 plus 2, which means num1 is going to be 7. So let's check it. Num1. Let's save it and check our browser. Yes, we got 7. So num1 is equal to num1 plus 2. Here we can use this plus or equal to make it simple. Instead of writing this plenty code, we can just do it. Num1 plus is equal to 2. This means that num1 is equal to num1 plus 2. Let's run it and see. We will get the same answer, which is 7. Yes, we got 7 again. So that's what plus equal to is used for. And we have minus 2. We have minus equal to. So let's do some here again. Let's num this. Let num1 is equal to 5. So here num1 is equal to 5 minus, okay, let me do it, num1 minus 3. So the answer will be num1 is equal to num1 minus 5, which means num1 here is 5 minus 3. That will be 2. So let's save it and check. Yes, we got 2. So let's use the simple way, which will be num1 minus equal to 3, which represents num1 is equal to num1 itself minus 3. Let's save it and check our browser. Yes, we got the same answer, 2. Let's go on. Let me delete this first. We have another one saying plus plus, which is increment. We call it increment. So here, let's num1 is equal to 5. You can choose to bring semicolon at the end of each code. You can choose to ignore it, but in most programming languages you have to bring it. So it's a good practice to bring it at the end of your code always. So num1 plus plus. What do you think the answer will be? And so num1. So the answer is, this means num1, which is 5, plus plus. So the plus here is there as arithmetic operation, and this plus here makes it increment, so it increases it by 1. So num1 here will be 6. Let's check it. Yes, we got 6 here. This is because num1 plus plus is the same as num1 is equal to num1 plus 1. So num1 here is 5 plus 1 will make it 6. Let's run it and see. We got 6. So here we use this plus plus instead of a long code like num1 plus num1 plus 1. So num1 plus plus makes it a simple code. Num1 plus plus, it increases it by 1. So let's go to decrements. Minus minus is decrement. So let num1 is equal to 5. So num1 is equal to num1 minus 1, which means num1. So whatever value you will get here will be what will be put into num1. Here is num1, we've declared it, we have assigned 5 to num1. So out here, when you check, do console.log num1 here, what answer do you think we are going to get? Num1 is equal to 5. So wherever you say num1 be 5. So console.log num1, let's see the answer. Yes, we got 5. Let's come back to our code, but let's print the same num1. Let me copy it and print the same num1 at the end of below this. Num1 is equal to num1 minus 1. Let's save it and check our code. So the first num1 we got 5 and the second num1 we got 4. So this here means after you say num1 is equal to 5, that means wherever you see num1 it should be 5. But under this code we change num1 from 5 to whatever we will get here. So out here will be so here will be 5 is equal to 5 minus 1. So this code is the same as I have written here. So 5 is equal to 5 minus 1. So whatever the answer you get here, 5 minus 1, would then be whatever answer you get from here would then be stored in 5. So 5 will be changed to whatever number that you, or whatever result that you get from here. That's what the assignment operator equals to means. When you subtract it, you get 4. It will be assigned to the variable here. So 5 minus 1 minus 5 minus 1 will be 4. So this will be changed to 4. So when you print num1 here, num1 value will be 4. That's why, let me clear this. That's why we got 4 as the answer. Let me use the decrement operator, like minus minus. So instead of writing this long code, num1 is equal to num1 minus 1, you can just do num1 minus minus. So let's delete this one and go with num1 minus minus. So this means num1 is equal to num1 minus 1. So let's save it and check the browser. Yes, we got the same answer, 4. So that's it. So in this chapter we are going to look on the other operators. So the first operator we are going to work with is comparison operator. Now in our previous lesson we learned about the arithmetic operators, assignment and assignment operators. So here we're going to learn about the comparison operator and logical operator. So the comparison operator, we have double equals to, which checks if a variable and a variable is equal to, and we have triple equal to. But this one, we will talk about this one later. The triple equals to, and we have not equal to. We have greater than. Okay, so double equals to, let's check something here. So before we talk about the comparison operator, we have to talk about another data type that we didn't talk about earlier. This is called Boolean. So Boolean data type checks if something is true or false. So let's say, so true or false is what comparison operators does. So let's check this. Let num1 is equal to 5. Let num2 is equal to 10. So let result is equal to, sorry, let's do it here. Console.log num1 is equal to num2. So here we are using the double equal to. That is to check if num1 is equal to num2. And if it's num1 is equal to num2, it will give us true. If num1 is not equal to num2, it will give us false. So let's check here. Num1 is 5 and num2 is 10. So like we all know, num1 is not equal to num2. So let's save it and check the browser. Yes, we got false. That's it, we got false. Let's go back to our code. So that means num1 is not equal to num2. Let's make num1 10 and num2 also 10. So here we know num1 is 10, num2 is 10, so they are equals to, they are the same. So let's save it and check. Yes, we got true here. That's equal to. Let's go and use another, this one, not equal to. So let me make this, let me change it back to 5 and change this not equals to. So when you see this exclamation sign, it means no or not. In programming language, in any programming language, when you see this exclamation sign, it means not or no. So this exclamation sign and equals to means not equal to. So this means num1 is not equal to num2, and that is true because num1 here is not equal to num2. so that will print true. But if so, let's save it and check. Save. Yes, we got true because num1 is not equal to num2. But let's make num1 here 10 and save it. So num1 is not equal to num2, but here we have num1 which is equal to num2, which is 10 10. So let's check it and see. Yes, we got false because num1 is equal to num2. Let's go with the less than. So let's, yes, so num1, this says num1 is less than num2, but here we have num1 and num2 equal. So num1 is 10, num2 is 10. So what will be the answer? You should guess it in the comment section. Num1 is less than num2, but here num1 is 10, num2 is 10. So I'm sure it will give us false. Let's run it. Yes, we got false. Let's change it, make it maybe num1 is equal to 2, and let's save it. Still num1 is less than num2. Let's check it. It's true. Yes, we got true because num1 is less than num2. Let's make the num1 bigger than num2 and see. So here num1 is greater than num2. So this says num1 is less than num2. Let's check it. It will probably give us false. Let's save it and check it in the browser. Yes, we got false. Let's go on to the greater than symbol. So let's change it. Greater than. So here it says num1 is greater than num2. Is it true? Yes, it is true because num1 here is 20 and num2 is 10. Let's save it and check. Yes, we got true. Let's go back. Let's change num1 to 2, which means num1 is 2, num2 is 10, and that means num1 is less than num10. But here the code says num1 is greater than 10. So let's check. That will probably give us false. Yes, and then we got false. Let's go to the less than or equals to. So less than or equals to, or equals to. Yes, less than or equals to. So here num1 is 2, which is less than 10, and here it says num1 is less than, is equal, sorry, it has to come before the equals to. So it says num1 is less than or equals to 2, and I think that is right because num1 here, which is 2 is probably less than 10. So let's save it and run it. Yes, we got true. And let's make it 10 so they will be equal, and let's save it and check again. Yes, we got true because they are equals to, num1 is less than and equal to num2. But let's make num2 greater. So here num2 is 20 and num1 is 10. But here it says num1 is less than or equals to num2. I think this will be false, like you are guessing, because num1 is smaller than num2. But here it says num1 is greater. Num1 here is smaller than num2. Let me make num1 greater. Num1 is 30, num2 is 20. This means num1 is greater than num2, but here it says num1 is smaller than num2. So I think it will give us false. Yes, it gave us false. Same applies to the greater than or less than. Let's go to the logical operators. So the logical operators, we have this, double, which means and we have which is or, So here too it checks, it gives true or false as a result. So here double and means and this gives us or. So let's use it and check. Let num1 is equal to 3. Let num2 is equal to 8. So and let me check something here. Let x is equal to 20. Let y is equal to 30. Let's come down here and do listen, console.log. Let's first use equals to, the double equals to that we use here as a comparison operator to check if num1 is equal to num2. So here let's check num1 is equal to num2, and I'm sure this will give us false because num1 is 3, num2 is 8, they are not equal. Yes, it has given us false. Let's come again, and so we are going to use this and x is equal to y. So this line of code means that num1 is equal to num2 and x is equal to y. But here num1 is not equal to num2, x is also not equal to y. So this and will bring us false because here is false and here is false, so we give us a false statement. So yes, it has given us false. But if we were to use or, which is, it will give us, or it will also give us false. Let's see, false. But if one of it were to be true and you used or, let's say x is smaller than y, so x is smaller than y. Here num1 is equal to num2, but that is false. But here x is smaller than y, that is true. Let's see, how do you think the answer will be? Because here is false and here is true. Let's save it and check. We got true, but one here is false and one here is true. That is or. If you use or and either one of them is true, it will bring us true. If both of them is true, it will give us true, and if one of them is true, it will give us true. But if we were to use and it will probably give us false. Let's go and check. False. You are guessing, you are thinking, why did we get false? Because when you use and one of them is false, it will bring us false. So let's do something here. So okay, let me do something here for it to be simple for you. So or, what is, when you use or and one of them is true, one is true, the second one is also true, it will give us true statement. Will give us true statement. That will give us true. If one is true and one is false, it will still give us true. If both of them is false, are false, it will give us false. But when we are using and one is true, the second one is also true, that will also give us true. 1 is true, 1 is false, will give us false. Both of them are false, will give us false. So you should learn this, and it will make it easier for you. So if you are using or and all the statements are true, it will give you true. One of the statements is false, one of the statement is true, it will give you true. All the statements are false, it will give you false. But when you use and both of them are true, it will give you true as well. But when one of them is false, it will give you false. So that is it for this chapter. In this chapter, you are going to learn about loops. Let's say you want to write this. You want to write, let me say log run 1. You want to write run 10 times. You have to do it run 1, then you have to write it again, copy run 2. Let's say you want to run 5 times, run 3, run 4, and run 5. That is too stressful. You will be writing, let's say if you have to write run, let's say everything C, though you got run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4, run 5, that is okay though. But what if you want to write run 1 to run 100? Then you'll be writing it for a long time, like you'll be stressing out. So JavaScript has got you a way out, and that's loops. So in loops, we have 3 main types of loops, which is for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So in this video, we are going to talk about for loop. So you want to run 5 times, it will just be 4. Write the keyword 4, then bring a parenthesis inside 4. You will declare let I equals to, then the I is like a variable that you use for the looping. I'm just using I because that's iteration, and many developers use I. That's why I'm using I. So I is equal to where you want to start, the number you want to start the looping from. So I want to start from 1. So I is equal to 1. Then you bring semicolon. Then I is less than how many times you want it to run. So I want it to run 100 times. So I'll make it I less than 101. If I want to make it run 100 times, then I should make it I less than 101, so that it will be 1 from 1 to 100. But if you choose to make it I is less than 100, it will be 1 to 99. So let's make it, if you are going to make it 100, then you should make it equals to I is equal to or less than 100. Then I plus plus. I hope you remember in our early videos we learned about increment. That is I plus I plus plus will make it increase by 1. So this particular code will start from 1 and will start from 1. Then I will print whatever is in this block. After printing it, we will go to this and check if it's still equals to or less than 100. And when it prints 1, it's still less than 100. So you move on to this, and this will make it 2 because it has increased by 1. So you make it 2. Then it prints again, then it checks if it's still below 100. Then it adds 1 to it. So let's go and log run plus I. So what this line of code means is that I is initially I is initially 1. So I is 1. Then we'll go here and ask if I is still less than or equals to 100. And when I is 1, it's less than 100. So we'll come and execute this code, which is run I, and I is 1, so we will say run 1. Then we'll come here and add 1 to 1 because I is currently 1, and incrementing it will be 2. So I here has become 2, no more 1. So we'll come here and check again if I, which is 2, is still less than or is equal to 100. And if it does, we'll come and run this again. Then come here and increment it to 3. Then we'll come I is equal to 3. Check if I is still less than 100. Then if it's less than 100, we'll come and execute this code. Then increment to 4. We will do that till it reaches 100. So if it reaches 100, I here is equal to 100, and we'll come here and check if I is equal to 100 or less than 100, and I is equal to 100. So we'll come and execute this code, then increment here by 1. So it will become 101. So 101, I is equal to 101. Then we will come and check if I is equal to or less than 100. But I here is 101, which is greater than 100. So the code will break. It won't execute again. So let's run and see what I'm talking about. Save it. See, you see, we've gotten we've gotten 1, run 2, run 3, up to run 100. So that's what I'm talking about. Hi, in this chapter, we are going to learn about while loop. In our previous chapter, we learned about for loop. In while loop, let's say while and our block. So inside the loop, the parentheses, that is where we write our condition for the code. So inside this parenthesis is where we write the condition. Unlike for loop we declare the condition inside the parenthesis. The condition inside the parenthesis, we initialize the loop inside the parenthesis and also the increment. But for while loop, we only put the condition inside the while. So let me say while true. So while true, we are going to execute looping. So whenever this condition, it meets the condition, and then we are going to execute the code. This code, I'm looping. And if you have checked, true is inside the while, which means it is true and it's going to loop forever. There's nothing that's going to stop it, because this code says while true and it's true, so it's going to be loop forever. So let me save and check my browser. So you've seen it is looping. Okay, 2000, 3000. It will loop forever because the statement or the condition is true. So it will be looping and looping and looping and looping. Hi. So in our previous lessons, we learned about while loop. So this chapter, we are going to learn about do while loop. And do while loop, the difference is that the do while loop, there will first be a condition. The code will be first executed before it checks whether the condition is true. So let's do it. So do, then you put the code inside here, while, then you put the condition inside the parentheses. So do, let's say I'm looping. So it will print, it will first execute this code before it comes to check whether this condition is true. So let's make it true. save it and check. So it's looping, that's it. So that is do while loop. Do while loop, let's execute the code before checking if it is true. Even if the condition, it will not meet the condition, still it will be executed first before it checks whether it meets or it doesn't meet it. So if it doesn't meet it, then it will just be executed once. It will stop the execution. But if it meets the condition, then it will continue looping. So that is do while loop. Hi, in this chapter we are going to learn about JavaScript comment. Symbol / is used to comment. When you have typed a code, let's say console.log hello world, and you don't want this code again, you don't want to execute this code again, but still you want the code here but not to be executed, then you comment it. That's how or where we use comments. So you just use the / in front of the code, so // then it has commented this out. It means it will not be executed, but it's still there, but it will not be executed. That's what comment is used for. Okay, we are going to learn about objects. Like we said earlier, object is a data type in JavaScript. So let's start. First of all, you assign or you give a variable name to the object. So let's say you are creating a social media app and you want to put the user's details, you want to get the user's details. So you put all the user's details in an object to make it simple for you to access it. So I'll give it a user, I'll give it a variable name user. So user is equal to, then you bring curly braces. That's where object codes are. So and you first you give it, let me say the username, the name of the user, let's say user name, user name, then the username Kingsford. That's it. Then you bring a comma. This time you won't bring semicolon, you bring a comma. Then you continue, maybe the user age. So age, you bring the age. It's a number, so you don't bring any you don't put it in a quotation, a single quote or double quote. So just maybe the age 17. Then you bring comma, you go on to the next, maybe city, you put in a string Accra. So now if you want to access the username or the age or the city, this is how we do it. Inside the console log, you type the user, which is the variable name for the object user. Then you bring dot and whatever you want to get access to, whether the username, the age or the city, you type it. Let me get access to the age, the username. So let's save it and go back to our web browser. We see Kingsford Opoku, yes, and let's actually make it more meaningful. So we put it in a string, the username, the user name. Okay, username, user dot username. So this will make it, or inside the string it will print username, then semicolon, then it will add the user dot username, which is the kings, for the Poku. So let's save it and check it. Yes, that's it. Kings for, then username, then kings for. Let's add the rest. So age, then user dot age, city, and user dot city. Let's save it and check our web browser. That's it. Username Kings for the Boku, age 17, city Accra. So that's how we create an object, and this username is name. So inside the object, what is on the left side is name, and on the right side is value. So username is name, Kings for the Poku is value, age is name, Kings for 17 is value, city is name, and Accra is a value. So next, you can also store a function inside an object. You can store a function inside an object, and note that you can also store an object inside an object. You can store a function inside an object. So let's go on. A function inside an object is called a method. Note, a function inside an object is called a method. So let's say user details. Then we bring the function keyword, and we won't give it any function name because this is an anonymous function. So we bring the parentheses, then the curly braces. Actually, it's showing an error, so you bring a comma after the city. So inside we will say return return this dot username, and this keyword, this keyword, what it means that you are referring to user. So you could say user dot username, but the best way of doing it is this. But before that, let's use the user, and after that we'll use the this. So let's clear this one, and inside it, user dot user details. So we are calling this user details method. So user dot user details, and because it's a function inside a method, like when we were invoking the function, we brought parentheses. So the same thing applies to the method. So let's save it and go to our web browser. Okay, we got things for the Poku. That's right. So instead of using user, you can simply use this, which also means user. Yes, it means the object you are inside, the object you are writing that method inside. So that's it. So one other way to get access to a value inside the to a value or method inside the object is using a bracket. So instead of saying like user dot maybe username, we can simply say user, then we bring a bracket, then inside you put it inside string, so user name, save it, let's check our browser. Okay, we got it. Thanks for the poku. Then age, let's save it and run it. So you got 17. Let's check the city to city. Let's save it and run it. Yes, we got Accra. Hi, in this chapter we are going to learn about math methods, and the first method we are going to learn about is round. Let's start school. Math dot round. So math is actually an object, and the round is a method or a function in that object that rounds, like it's showing here. It says the value to be rounded to the nearest integer. So let's put maybe 6.2 inside. Let's make it, let's round is equals, yes. So round, let's save and check it. Yes, we got 6. We got 6 because it's rounded it down, because the 6.2, the 2 is below 5, so it couldn't be rounded up, so it rather rounded down. If it were to be 6.6, let me save it. Let's see, we get 7. Yes, we got 7 because it rounded it up. Let's see another method. So the second method is math dot seal. So this is used to, so math dot seal is used to round numbers or integers up, no matter the number of the decimal point being smaller than 5 or being not up to 5, it will still round it up. So let's say we have 6.1. Let's save it or store it in C. So C. Let's save it and check in our browser. Okay, we got 7. Yes, it was 6.1, but still we got 7 because we are using the seal method, and it rounds any number up, no matter the number of the decimal point being below 5 or not up to 5. So let's see 6.72. We got 7 still. So that's it. Okay, so next method is floor. Just like the opposite of seal is floor. So instead of rounding the number or the integer up, it rounds it down. Using the floor, it rounds it down. So let's say 6.7. Let's say everything floor. Floor is equal to, yes. Then we check it here. Floor. Let's save it and see the answer. We got 6. Yes, we got 6 because 6.7, it rounded it down to 6. Let's make it 6.1 and see. Save it. Yes, we still got 6. So that's it. Okay, so we have another method called math.pow. So let's pow is equal to math.pow, and it takes 2 parameters. So the first parameter is the base, so let's say 2, and the second parameter is the power, so 3. So it will be 2 round step 2 to the power 3, first integer, and 2 is the first parameter. So 2 is the first parameter and it is the base, and 3 is the second parameter, which is the power. So let's put it in the console and see. Okay, we got 8. Yes, we got 8. So we got 8. Let's see 6 to the power 3. Let's save it. We got 216. So that's it. Let's go to the next. So the next method we are going to look at is sqrt. So math.sqrt. So it finds the square root of a number. So let's put 216 and let's save it and see what we got. We got 14.69. Okay, so that 14.69, you know that we've learned math.round or math.seal. So we are going to use the math.round to round the number, sorry, the math.seal to seal the number. Okay, we got 14.69 whatever. So you remember that we have learned math.floor. So we are going to use the math.floor to get this number to be shorter. So math.floor. When you put the sqrt inside, let's save it and see. We got 14. So that's how we use the math method. And there is one method in math, that is math.random. It is used to find random numbers. It's used to generate random numbers. And I'm not going to talk about it in this chapter. We are going to talk about it in the next chapter. Okay, in this chapter we are going to learn about some methods in string. Earlier on we learned about strings. So fruits is equal to, we put it in a double quote or single quote. So we are putting it in a double quote, so I'm making it banana. So this is our fruit. So the way to do it is we call the fruit, then dot, give it length, then you bring your parentheses. So this will check the length of the value in the fruit, which is banana. We will check the length of the banana. So let's assign it to, so let's do like, length is equal to fruit.length. Then so the length of the fruit will be saved or stored inside this length variable. So let's check it in our length. Let's save it, go to our browser. Okay, length is not a fancy math. Okay, sorry, we shouldn't bring the parentheses. Okay, let's save it. Enter. Look, we got 6. That's right. So that's it. And we have another method called slice. So let's comment this out and check it. Okay, so the slice is a method used to remove some part from the variable, from the value inside the variable. So let's say you want to remove ban from the banana. So you will start from b, and the b index is 0. So you put 0 here at the first parameter, then you bring comma. Then where you want to end it, where you want to end the parameter, sorry, where you want to end the slicing. So if you want to the slicing to start from B and ends at N, then you put an index of 0 1 2 3 3. So 3. Let's save it or store it in a variable. Let's say slice is equal to fruit dot slice. Okay, so let's save it and see. Okay, we got ban. That's right. So we removed ban from the banana using the slice method. So the slice method, the first parameter which we inserted 0 is where the slicing will start from. So 0 in the banana will be B, and where we want to end is 3. And note that where the ending part is not included. So if you put 3, it will start from 0 1 2 3. The 3 is A, but the 3 wasn't included. So if you wanted just B and A, we would have make the ending 2. Let's say we can see. So we got ba. That's it. Let me comment this one out. Okay, let me do it. Let me comment this one out and let's move on. We have another method, string method called replace. This replace, we use it to remove some parts of the text and replace it with another one. So let's say inside here I said my name is Kingsford, but we want to remove we want to remove the Kingsford and replace it with Samuel. So this is how you do it. Fruits dot, then the replace method will bring the parentheses. So inside the parentheses you will type what you want to, the first one is what you want to replace. So inside the replace parentheses you will type in the name that you want to remove or what you want to remove. That's the first parenthesis. So we want to remove Kingsford, so we type Kingsford. Then the second parameter will be what you want to put in place of Kingsford. So we want to put Samuel in place. Let's store this in a variable. Let's replace is equal to, yes. Then we put replace here instead. Save it. You see my name is Samuel. Let's go back. We want to replace, so let's clear this. Okay, let me put another name here. Let's say Raindorf. Let's save it and check. You see my name is Raindorf. So that's it. Though we have many string methods like replace or to uppercase, to lowercase, to string concat, we have all that, but later on we will discuss that. So let's now move on to the next chapter. Okay, in this chapter we are going to learn about number methods. So just like we have string methods, we also have number methods. Let's start. Let's num1 is equal to maybe 20.265. Okay, so maybe we don't want the 265, we don't want all these numbers, we want to maybe just get 20.26. Then we have a method for that, a number method for that. Say num1 dot to fixed. to fixed. Then you bring your parentheses and type in the number of decimal points that you want. So you want two decimal point, you want two numbers after the decimal point. So you say 2. Let's store that in a variable. So let fixed equals. Then you put that in the console log. Fixed. Save it. Go to our console and see we got 20.27. Okay, so it will run. We have 5 as the last number, so it will run 8, and this will be 7. Then we get only 20.27. If we were to say fix 1, that means we will get 20.3 because this is more than 4. So it will run it and we will get 20.3. Let's run it and see. Yes, we got 20.3. Let's add 1 to it and say if you want to get 3 decimal numbers, so 3, that will be 20.265. The last number 1 is not up to 5, so it won't run. This won't be 6, it will just be 20.265. Let's save it and run it. Okay, we got it exactly 20.265. That's it. Let's delete this and yes. So we have another method for number that is used to convert numbers to string. So let's say we have let num1 is equal to 20, and we want to convert it to string. Though you can simply put that in quotation or quotation marks just like this and it will be a string, but in some cases you won't be able to do it. So this is how you do it. Like you get 20, you want to convert it to a string, you say num1 dot to string, then you bring your parentheses. That's it. Let's save it. Let's string number equals, so string number. Let's save it and check. Yes, we got 20, but this 20 is not a number. Now it is a string because you have converted it from a number to a string using the number method to string. Let's get back to our code. So that's it for number method. Though we have many number methods like to exponential, to precision, value of. We have many number methods, but we will be restricted to this for now. Okay, in this chapter we are going to learn about array methods. So first of all, let's store some, let me say, fruits. Let fruits equal to square bracket. Then we put in some array, some fruit names, mango, coconut, banana. So let's stick with that. And now if you want to see the length of this array, you just let's store it in length is equal to, then you call the fruit the variable of the arrays, that's the fruit dot length. So let's put in the console log and type length. Let's save it and see. Okay, we got 3. That is the length. So we got 1, 2, 3. Know that this isn't index, this is length. if it were to be indexed, it would be 0, 1, 2. So we will have 2, but this is length. It starts from 1, 2, 3. So let's go on and use another method. So the next method we are going to learn about pop. The pop method is used to remove the last element from array. So here we have the last element to be banana. So if you want to remove the banana, you just say fruit dot pop, then you bring your parentheses. That's it. So let's now see. So okay, first of all, let me comment this out and let's see what we get in fruit. I'm putting the fruit in the console log, so you see the fruit array. Let's say it. Okay, so here you are seeing mango, coconut and banana. Let's go on and use the pop. So fruits.pop, that means we have removed the last element from the fruit array. So now let's check what we have in the fruit array. Save it and okay. So now we have only mango and coconut. You see there is no banana because we popped it out. Okay, we have another method called push, and the push, like the pop, it is used to push a new element to the end of the array. So let's use it here. So let's use push, and inside the push we will put what we want to push to the array. Let's say we want to add let's say pair to the array. Fruit.push, then we insert the element we want to add to the array. So we want to add pair to the array. So let's save it and go check. Okay, so we have pair here. Yes, we have pair here, like we added it. Okay, just like we have push, pop and push, we also have another method that we use to. Okay, we have a shift method. The shift method is used to remove the first element from an array, like the pop element. The pop method. The pop method is used to remove the last element, but the shift method is used to remove the first element. So let's see fruit.shift. So let's save it and see. Okay, so now we don't have mango anymore, so coconut has become the first element. Okay, and the unshift, the unshift is used to add new element to the first position or to the first index. So we want to, okay, so fruits dot unshift, that we are adding a new element to the array, but that will be the first element. So let's say we are adding pair. Let's save it and check our browser. Okay, we now have pair as the first element. So if you want to change, let's say mango to pear, you are not removing the mango. If you want to change it to pear, you just do fruits, then you bring the brackets, then you insert the index of the elements you want to change. So we want to change mango, and mango is the first index, so it is 0. So 0 equals to pear. Let's save it and check our browser. Okay, so we now have pear instead of mango. You can just do it to the second index, which is 1. That's coconut. Let's save it and see. Okay, we have pear instead of coconut. So that is it. We have many methods for arrays, but we will stick with this one. We have some methods like concat, delete, join, flat, splice, slice, and all of that, but we will stick with this one. In this chapter we are going to learn about math.random. In the previous chapter we learned about math methods, and math.random is a method in math methods. It's a method in math, and it returns a random number between 0 and 1, but the 1 is exclusive. The 1 is not among, so it returns a random number from 0 to 0.99999. So let's go on and use it. So math.random, actually let me put it in a variable. Let's random numbers equal to math.random, then you bring the parentheses. Okay, so let's see random numbers. Okay, let's save it and see what we will get. Okay, so we got 0.7364. Alright, let's run it again. Let's save it again and see what we get. Now we have gotten 0.66788. So anytime we save it and check, we will get a new number from 0 to 0.999. But we see that we can make, right now the math random is generating numbers from 0 to between 0 and 1, but we can choose our numbers that we want to generate. So here, if you want to generate numbers from 0 to between 0 and 10, we then times or multiply the amount of random times the number, that is 10. So let's save it and see what we get. Okay, so now we got 9.872. then let's save it and check again. Now we got 2.45. no, let's save it and check again. So we get 0.68. let's save it and check again. So 6.64. so that's how it's going to be, but it will never generate a number. It will never generate 10 because it is between 0 and 10. So if you want to generate numbers from 0 to 10, then you have to make it 11, multiply it by 11. So you see that the numbers are generating are getting too long. It has many decimal places, but we want to make it short, so we are going to use the math.floor. Which floors the number to the nearest or to the lowest integer. So to use it, we have to math.floor, then surround it with the math.random. Okay, so that's it. Let's save it and check again. Nice one. So this we got 4. Let's save it and check again. Now we got 1. Let's save it and check again. We got 7. So that's how it's going to be. It generates random numbers between 0 and 10, but you will choose the numbers if you want to choose where it should generate from and where it should be up to. You are going to decide it. So that's how you use math.random. So let's do something here. Let's delete this. Let's clear this code, and we are going to decide the range of numbers you want to print. So first of all, let min is equal to 1. So that means I want to print the numbers that it should print should be from 1 and let the max be equal to 100. So we'll run from 1 to 100, or print random numbers from 1 to 100. So this is how we are going to do. We are going to make the codes equal to math dot random with a parenthesis. Then we multiply it with, we put them in brackets. So we multiply it with the max minus the min plus 1. Then outside it you bring plus the min. So this will generate random numbers from 1 as indicated as min to 100 as indicated as max. So it won't be between 1 and 100. It will be from 1 to 100. So the 1 is inclusive and the 100 too is inclusive. So we are going to surround it with math.floor so that it will floor the numbers to the lowest integer. Let's save it and run it. So we got 10. Let's save it again. We got 71. Let's save it again. We got 21. Let's save it again. We got 81. Let's save it again. We got 100. So that's it. That's math.random. So you can use math.random to do many things. Like you can use it to create or build games and others. So that's it. Let's move on to the next chapter. In this chapter we are going to learn about if else, or else. So if is used to specify a block of code to be executed if a specified condition is true, and else, use else to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false. We use else if to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false. So let's go on and code. So let num is equal to 10, or let's build something like this. So let's say we are going to vote, and before you vote you have to be, your age have to be, you have to be, let's make a code to be used for voting. So if you are eligible to vote, you have to be first be 18 years or above. So let's declare the age. First of all, let's declare the age and use the if condition here. So if, then we put the condition inside, the condition that is to be met. That's if age is greater than 18. That's if the person is older than 18, or let's make it if the person is older, equals to, or greater than 18. Then this code inside here, this block, is to be executed. So let's say you are eligible to vote, else if age is smaller than 18 or less than 18, then we should say you are not eligible to vote. You are not eligible to vote. Else let's say you are not age is invalid. Age is invalid. So this code is to ask a user or the person his or her age. And if the age is greater than, that's the if age is greater or equals to 18, then we should say you are eligible to vote. So if this condition is true, this is what will be shown and the rest will all be ignored. But if age is not greater or equals to 18, then we'll come to the second condition to check. Else, if age is smaller than 18, and if the condition is met, that's if the age is smaller than 18, then this will be shown and the rest of the code will be ignored. So if and else if do not meet the condition, then whatever condition, whatever age that you give, this will be provided. That is, age is invalid. So let's assign a number to the age. So let's say you are 10 years. That means, so if you are 10 years, let's come to the if. So age will be 10 here, and if age is greater or equals to 18, I'm sure you know that this won't be printed because age is not greater or equals to 18. Then it will ignore this if and then come to else if. So age, if age is smaller than 18, and I think you know that age is smaller than 18 because age is 10 and it's smaller than 18. So this is what will be printed. So let's save it and check. You are not eligible to vote. That's right, because you got age which is less than 18. Let's go and change the age again. Let's make it 18. So 18, which means age is equal to or greater than 18. So this is what will be printed. That you are eligible to vote. So let's save it and check our browser. You are eligible to vote. That's what if, else if, and else is used for. Hi. So in this chapter we are going to learn about functions. So when you talk about functions in JavaScript, function is a way of writing your code in a block. That will make it easy for you to reuse your code inside out, to reuse your code anytime you want. So this is how we create a function. So first of all, you will type the function keyword, which is function. And just as we do when we are assigning a value to our variable, we give it a variable name. So here we give it a variable name. We are going to add some numbers, so we give it a variable name of add. Then we bring a parenthesis. After the parenthesis, we bring a curly braces. So that's it. We have created our function. So where we will write the code is inside this curly braces. This is where our code will be. So in this function we are going to add two numbers. So let's say console log 2 plus maybe 10. So 2 plus 10. Let's save it and go to our web browser to see that there is no answer here. Let's go back to our code and see the reason. So when you create a function, how to call the function? We call it invoking a function. That's telling the function to start executing. That's why we call it invoke. So we call a function by just call the variable name and the parentheses. Let's save it, then go back to our web browser. You see we got 12. So that's it, we got 12. Let's come back to our code. We don't actually need to bring console.log 2 plus 10. We have to do something like num1 plus num2. Then we get our answer. But here num1 plus num2, we have to first declare it. Let num1 is equal to 10, let num2 is equal to 5. So num1 plus num2, let's call the function and see. We got nothing here. Let's go back and put it in the console. So num1 plus num2, let's save it and go back to the web browser. Okay, we got 15, that's right, but we can make it way simpler than this. Let's clear it all. So the purpose of this function is to add two numbers. So let's say num1, we are adding num1 and num2, but here we don't have any num1 or num2, any value in num1 or num2. That's the purpose of this parenthesis. We come here and we say num1 comma num2, which means num1 here is num1 and num2 here is representing num2 here. So whatever goes inside this parenthesis, we call them parameters. So if we were just having num1, it would be one parameter, but having num1 and num2 would be having two parameters. So but now we don't have any value for num1, we still don't have any value for num1 and num2. So that's when we use the invocation. When we're invoking it, we give it the value that should have been inside num1 and num2. So the first parameter is num1, so num1 we give it 10, then comma num2 we give it maybe 5. So let's save it. But before that, you have to bring return. And we put this inside the console.log. Let's save it and run it. Okay, we got 15 like we were expecting. So I'll explain everything here. When you write the code, return means you should return num1 plus num2 whenever you call or invoke the function. So invoking it, we pass 10 at the first, and whatever comes inside the invocation parameter, the invocation parenthesis is called arguments. But when it's inside the parenthesis in the function, main function, it is called parameter. But when it comes here, it is arguments. So we had num1 here, num2. So now we have 10 and 5. So this 10 will come inside this num1 and will be directed to here, num1. So this num1 will become 10. And when we call add and say 5, 5 will go to num2 and num2 will be directed to num2 inside the function. So it will be 10 plus 5. And note one thing. Immediately you say return will return whatever you have typed here, but whatever code that will come after the return will not be executed. As soon as it sees return, it returns what it has, and the rest will not be returned. The rest will not be executed. So let's add one number to it. So then we will come here and say comma num3. Then we will come to the code inside and add num3. Then we will come inside our argument, we will come inside our invocation and type the number we want to give to num3. Let me say 15. So now the 10 will go to num1 and will be directed to num1 inside the code. 5 will go to num2, it will be doing the same thing, and num3 will also be doing the same thing. So the way of arranging it matters most. So here num1, num2, num3. When you say 10, when you put the 10 in place of the 5, like let's the 5 here and you put 10 here, you have changed the digit. So 5 will now be inside num1, 10 will be now inside num2. So it depends on the arrangement. You arrange it the same way you have arranged it here. So let's save it and go to our web browser. Okay, the answer is 30. So that is how we create a function.